So what's central in this conversation is, do they actually believe some of these populist opinions, right? Do they actually dislike establishment politicians because they take donor money and hence are corrupt? And that's super central. And yes, my assessment is the MAGA voters, and yes, they're not seeing clear on Trump. They're not seeing clear on Elon Musk, but they do hate the corruption.
How can you not see clear on Donald Trump, who's one of the most transparent figures ever? How can you not see clear on Elon Musk when everything he does is so transparent? What are they not seeing? Hello? Maybe they just don't give a fuck.
And they do hate the donor class.
Okay. To that point, they clapped you when you said establishment media. They clapped when you said we hate Dick Cheney and Mitch McConnell. When you said we got to get rid of the donor class, no one clapped.
I noticed that. You know why, Mark?
You know why, Mark? Why? What's he going to say? Because I was combating them on that? Because I brought up Elon, or what? He didn't bring up Elon.
Challenge them by talking about their donors. And I've done that.
Wrong, lies, liar. About their donors? Say his name. President Musk. Say his name. Elon Musk. Not the amorphous, nebulous, whatever fucking donor people. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. Say his name. How can you ever talk about donor class and not mention Elon Musk? This guy bought a whole media platform for $44 billion to use it to promote Trump. How can you not say that name? We're talking about donors.
Many shows. And I've talked about, hey, remember, Elon's a donor. Remember, Elon's a donor.
You didn't say it to Charlie.
I've talked about Miriam Adelson being a donor. When I get to Miriam Adelson, we go back to agreement, okay? And you might not expect that from the right wing who supported Israel throughout my entire life. But now when we talk about Israel with the right wing, half of them go, yeah, no, you're right. I don't know why we're... And they're not doing it out of the charity of their heart. They're not doing it because they love Muslim lives so much. They're doing it because they don't want, in their way of thinking, they don't want to waste money on there. Why are we giving it to Israel when we should be having it here at home? But I'll take it. But I never would have gotten there if I never talked to them. I never would have realized...
Yeah, but you didn't move them in that position. Some of them, the hatred of Jews, and most of them just the not seeing the point in America being involved in these things. Those same people, they're like, good, I'm glad you guys don't want to be militarily involved with Israel. We're like, yeah, we need to save our money so that we can give it to Americans who can buy M4s and go to Panama and take that over. It's like, wait, hold on.
Realize how much they got concerned about funding Israel if I hadn't talked to them. So these are the things that we discover when we go to have these conversations. On the other hand, when you get to Elon, they pause and they're like, wait.
I thought Cenk did very briefly mention Musk as a donor. If he did mention it, it was in the lightest way possible. I don't remember him mentioning it. Cenk, turning point. Elon Musk, donors. I don't think he ever mentioned Elon here.
In a new direction. They will never voluntarily accept populism. They are built on donor money. They are of the donors, by the donors, for the donors. So what I need left...
Keep in mind also, when you say populism, all populism really means is you've got a group of citizens who are opposed to the bureaucracy or parts of it. That's it. Like, one way that populism expressed itself was in the civil rights era when labor unions fought against integrating and promoting black workers. This was populism. They felt that the bureaucracy and the Civil Rights Act was disgusting. It was a huge overreach of the federal government, that the federal government is going to come in and start telling us that we have to hire people of protected classes, that we can't discriminate on this. That was the form of populism, right? Populism can also express itself in ways of like we want to... I don't know, left-wing or right-wing ways. Like but populism on its own is not necessarily good or bad. It's just like a thing of people who have some level of discontent with the establishment and see a strong man or figure as their way kind of like through it, broadly speaking. But it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing in and of itself. And if anything, as an American citizen, our country is pretty foundationally and structurally is pretty opposed to the concept of populism, because all of the founding fathers, my guesses, would say, or at least the Federalists would also say that populism is literally fucking brain rot. Populism is the worst of us. Populism is crowds of men angrily screaming for a particular thing that they might even know individually or personally is wrong, but because they're in a group, they'll say this stupid thing and they'll do this stupid thing. And that's why we have all of these processes and procedures to stop these types of things. My favorite one so far has been Federalist number 15. It was a heavy one, but there's a lot of good quotes in here. It at all times betrayed an ignorance of the true springs by which human conduct is actuated and belied the original inducements to the establishment of civil power. Why has government been instituted at all? Spoiler alert, at least up to Federalist 19, is not for freedom of speech. Fuck me. Because the passions of men will not conform to the dictates of reason and justice without constraint. Has it been found that bodies of men act with more rectitude or greater disinterestedness than individuals? The contrary of this has been inferred by all accurate observers of the conduct of mankind, and the inference is founded upon obvious reasons. Regard to reputation has a less active influence when the infamy of a bad action is to be divided among a number than when it is to fall singly upon one, right? Groups of people make dumb decisions. They don't have as much responsibility for it. A spirit of faction, which is apt to mingle its poison in the deliberations of all bodies of men, will often hurry the persons of whom they are composed into improprieties and excesses for which they would blush in a private capacity. Populism, I would say, probably stands against like foundational American principles. It's why we have things like protected classes. It's why we have a Senate. It's why we have some form of federal government, like is to stand in opposition to just like large mobs of people that want to scream about a thing. But that's now whatever.
Wait, I like Elon, right? So that means you got more work to do. And in the next conversation, you talk a little bit more about Elon and a little bit more, etc. So this is the way to break through and for the country to finally like have conversations without constantly just walling each other off and saying they think we're so extreme. Like, for example, I go to talk to Charlie Kirk. The left is saying, oh, I can't believe you talked to Charlie Kirk when he said X, Y, Z. But do you know that the right wing is saying the same thing to Charlie? I can't believe you talked to Cenk when Cenk has said Nazi fascist about Trump and which I didn't even remember the Nazi part, but you showed me there and there's a video going around. So I must have said it.
Yeah, but the difference is that when you're talking to Charlie, and when you're talking to Tim, they're pulling you over just to agree with their point. They're not giving you any concessions. Charlie didn't make a single concession to you. Charlie didn't agree on a single thing to you. But he got you to sit there and throw the entire Democratic establishment, which represents, by the way, 95% at least of the Democratic Party, under the bus. Charlie didn't throw anybody under the bus. In fact, I want to say, I feel like I remember this. I don't remember exactly what. I think there was an end here where I think Cenk was even trying to get Charlie to come over on something, and Charlie didn't even take the bait.
Against the bankers, they're like, no, the bankers are great, the bankers are great. Oh, I was so frustrated. And now all of a sudden, we got the right-wing populists saying, let's ban the bankers from buying our homes so they don't drive up the prices. Yes. The left, take yes for an answer. And look, what I said online on X was, at least what we got out of this.
I know listen, my arguments are not contrarian, okay? Because I'll back them all up. Fuck you if you say it. Challenge me on it. But I will say, I would feel very uncomfortable being in front of an audience like this and having them cheer for me, okay? I would much rather be booed. I love the boos from these types of audiences. Yes, hate me. Yes, hate me. Yes.
Election is. We're no longer in an establishment prison. Now we're in the populist woods, right? And if you say, yeah, but we're going to fight in the populist woods, yes. But at least we're all human out here. We defeated the corporate robots, and we've got more fights with the corporate robots to come. But out here in the woods, when I see you guys, I don't hate you anymore, right? I see my fellow Americans.
Like, what does corporate robot mean? What is a corporation? Is the Trump brand? Is that composed or comprised of corporations? Is Tesla a corporation? Is SpaceX a corporation? Is X a corporation? Like, what is a corporation if not these things? And what are Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy and Donald Trump and any of these other billionaires if not the heads of corporations? I'm sure he's quoting theory, and I don't know what theory he's quoting, but it reminds me of in 1984, when Winston and that girl break into that house and they're reading like the forbidden literature, one of the things that they read is that the way that society works is like you have the rulers, and then you've got like the people beneath them, and then you've got like the lower class, and that history is just the rulers and the people beneath them swapping places over and over and over again, with like the lower class like cheering for different power changes, but they're never ever advanced through any of these like powership swaps. And that's what this feels like a little bit. Like, I'm sorry, MAGA is not benefiting from Elon Musk getting H-1B visas or, more tax cuts for fucking SpaceX and Tesla. Like,
and so in these populist woods, we'll sometimes have skirmishes, sometimes we'll have battles, but the main thing I'm trying to drive with the 6 points of the populist plan.
That's directly from Marx? Okay, maybe, yeah.
Higher wages for Americans, time off for moms after they have a baby, anti-corruption, anti-war. The reason
the Pentagon?
Oh, yes. So the reason I picked those is not because they're the most left-wing positions, because those are the positions we all agree on, right? And God help the establishment if we actually work together to do those things. And finally, to the heart of your question, Charlie, I propose on X, cut the Pentagon, make sure the generals cannot work for the military-industrial complex afterwards, and free Edward Snowden.
I agree.
Turning points, if you will, in how I started to view the right wing is when you came on the Young Turks at the RNC, and we started talking about banning private equity from buying residential real estate.
So which I totally agree with. That the young people in this audience should not have to compete against BlackRock to be able to own a home. Do you guys agree?
Oh, wait, here, was it this? 1 second.
Okay, but I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, health care, and housing? Constitutional rights.
Do you want me to translate? Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
And he just fucking destroys him. Like, Cenk is coming at this and this is why Charlie Kirk's demeanor and disposition, I don't know there's those two words, that's why I always sound together. Charlie Kirk's disposition here is so intentional. Same thing with Tim Pool, right? Guiding the conversation to where he wants it to go, right? That when Cenk is crawling and begging, okay? Cenk is begging, I've crawled this far. Can you like meet me like 10%? Charlie, this is an incredibly confrontational, in terms of conversational maxims or whatever, right? He is an incredibly confrontational response to this, right? No.
Do you want me to translate? Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
Okay, so I hear you. What I got out of that, guys.
I'm just trying to be the interpreter.
Yeah.
And then Cenk just abandons it immediately.
No, there was a lot of applause, and
Which is like so funny because it's like, well, wait, then in that case, why the fuck do we care about BlackRock buying up homes? Who cares then? It's the free market.
With some consternation, right? I'll take it. It's a start. It's a start. So, guys, when we can even disagree about what's constitutional, Second Amendment, housing, etc. But just let's treat everyone as Americans. And I say that to the right, and I say it to the left.
Sure. So we're going to go a little overtime because I know the boss here.
And then he generalizes it again, right? Like, all Americans should have freedom. Yay! Even the black slaves. Okay, well, we can at least agree that all citizens, Americans, should have freedom. Yay! It's like, okay. That's a start, guys. Like, that's essentially Mark's example. And that's essentially what's happening. Like, the analogy was on point. It worked, but I don't even think Cenk engaged with it. He managed to slither away from that as well.
But that's okay. And Jenkins defends trans girls going into high school sports in women's. So a lot of people hate that Charlie talked to me because they view me as completely extreme and illegitimate and out of bounds.
No, I don't think any of them were unhappy about that conversation. They might not like you, but they didn't judge Charlie harshly for it.
What we're doing is we're breaking down some walls. So, but
do you believe that you and Charlie Kirk are opposite sides of the same coin? Do you believe that you and Charlie Kirk are opposite sides of the same coin?
Well, look, that's a good question because
Charlie Kirk are opposite sides
illegitimate and out of bounds.
Wait, what?
And what we're doing is we're breaking down some walls. So, but
do you believe that you and Charlie Kirk are opposite sides of the same coin? Do you believe that you and Charlie Kirk are opposite sides of the same coin?
What does he think Charlie Kirk stands for or believes in? Cenk, no. How do you have to think about this?
Well, look, that's a good question because I don't hate white people, and
what does that have to do with anything? What? Wait, what was that response? I don't hate white people? What?
I don't say anything against white people in general. I would never say like, hey, if I go to a plane and there's a white pilot, I'm worried. All right, so it's not exactly right that we're the same side.
Exactly. That's why it's not fair to say, well, they say the same thing about me. Well, y'all ain't the same. I also think it's interesting that you
think it's the same, Mark, but they do think it's the
same. But it's okay to say they're wrong. But also, just to be a little petty, I appreciate you saying you're not like Charlie Kirk because you don't hate white people. You accept that Charlie Kirk hates black people, which I appreciate. I just think it's wild and bizarre that you can accept that he hates black people and don't think he's a white supremacist. That's just weird to me. But just, I know you guys go.
Such an unhelpful term. I can't stand it.
As a black person,
it is an unhelpful term. I agree, but that's not really what he's talking about. Hold on, let me use the restroom 1 sec. I need to get some fucking blood pressure medication for this shit. Jesus. I was like, ooh.
Then, as a black person, I can tell you, I find it unhelpful that someone can acknowledge someone hates black people, but thinks the most unhelpful thing is calling them white supremacists. I mean, can you imagine?
No, that's not helpful, brother, because I can show you 100 Islamophobes that are hardcore Islamophobes, but me calling them Islamophobes is not helpful. It's never going to break through to them.